My name is Lance LeComb. I'm the Manager of Public Information and spokesperson for the Metropolitan St. Louis Sewer District, or MSD. I'd like to share with you information on Propositions Y and Proposition S, both of which are going to be on the April 5th ballot for voters in our service area, which includes all of the city of St. Louis and 80% of St. Louis County. Before doing so, though, I'd like to share information about MSD Project Clear, which is our 23-year, $4.7 billion agreement with the Environmental Protection Agency and the Missouri Coalition for the Environment. The reason MSD Project Clear is important is because Proposition Y does help finance that. And I also want to share with you information about our rate commission. Again, the reason that is important is because the rate commission's deliberations, a recommendation to MSD's Board of Trustees, is what led MSD staff to place those two propositions on the April 5th ballot. This slide here gives several bullet points, several demographic points about MSD. I'm not going to go through each point specifically. Several of them are self-explanatory. But the 2 points I do want to key in on for you, because it does help inform our conversation going forward, is the first one and the last one. The first one, two utilities, wastewater and stormwater. MSD is two utilities under one umbrella. We are a wastewater utility and a stormwater utility. What that means for us is that as we perform those two functions, we must account for those revenues and those activities separately. That means wastewater revenues must pay for wastewater activities, and stormwater revenues must pay for stormwater activities. We can't take wastewater revenues and pay for stormwater activities, and vice versa. So we have to keep those two sides of our business separate, and Proposition Y deals with wastewater, and Proposition S deals with stormwater. That's why that's important. What's also important, to help you understand perhaps the magnitude of some of the numbers we're dealing with, MSD is the fourth largest sewer system in the United States by miles of sewers that handle wastewater. We have well over 6,000 miles of sewers that handle wastewater in some fashion. Beyond that, we have another 3,000 miles of stormwater sewers. But when you look at those 6,000 miles of wastewater sewers, that places us just behind New York, Chicago, and LA. St. Louis, fourth largest sewer system in the United States. You may ask, how is that? Well, much the same reason we have 90 municipalities in St. Louis County is why we are the fourth largest sewer district today. Since MSD was formed in 1954, we have taken in 79 separate sewer districts. And as a result of its folks moved from the city out into the county in the 19th and 20th centuries, just as they developed those 90 municipalities so they have their own local government, providing their own police and fire and other government functions, they also wanted wastewater service. And that's how we arrived at 79 separate sewer districts that MSD's taken in since 1954. So we're a very large system, a very complex system, but we do a very good job with what we have. This map here represents sewer overflows, and a little bit on sewer overflows. Sewer overflows is the number one issue that MSD is dealing with today. Overflows are, if you would, relief valves that are in our sewer system, and they're there because of the way the system was either developed or they were put there intentionally. And the overflows acting as relief valves during moderate to heavy rainstorms, too much rainwater will get into the sewer system. Now, when you have too much rainwater in a sewer system, that water has to go someplace. So in lieu of perhaps thousands of basement backups every time it rains, these overflows provide relief for the sewer system. Unfortunately, that relief goes into area creeks and streams. That means during moderate heavy rainfalls, we have a combination of wastewater and stormwater going to area creeks and streams. Now, certainly not desirable by any means, but it is a lesser of two evils, if you would, in terms of, do you have a basement backup of a sewer overflow? And, in the 21st century, we do need to address that, and that's what MSD Project Clear is about. And I will go into that in the next slide a little bit further. But going back to this slide, each of the dots on this slide, and there are several colored dots on this slide, each of these dots represents an overflow that has been eliminated or will be eliminated or addressed in some fashion in the future. The blue dots represent overflows that we have eliminated between 1992 and 2012. We eliminated well over 300 overflows during that time period at a cost of $2.7 billion. The green dots represent overflows that we eliminated between our fiscal year 13 and fiscal year 16, currently, which we're in the last year of which right now, so we do have a few more to go. And fiscal years 13 through 16 represent the first 4 years of MSD Project Clear. The yellow dots, fiscal years 17 through 20, represent overflows that we're going to address over the next 4 years, in which Proposition Y will help finance. And the red dots represent overflows that remain to be addressed after fiscal year 20, and we will address those in some fashion as we work through this 23-year agreement with the Environmental Protection Agency and the Missouri Coalition for the Environment. I briefly mentioned MSD Project Clear. Let me give a little bit more information about what that is. That is MSD's effort to improve water quality and alleviate wastewater issues throughout our service area. MSD serves all the city of St. Louis and 80% of St. Louis County. Our general western boundary is Highway 109. I say general, it's not exact, but that's our general western boundary, Highway 109. And of course, while we're focused on the sewer system within that service area, water flows out of our service area and impacts other communities, not just in our immediate community, or our immediate area, but throughout the United States. So we're improving water quality, protecting a shared environment. And the agreement is, MSD Project Clear stems from an agreement that we have with the Environmental Protection Agency and the Missouri Coalition for the Environment. It calls for $4.7 billion of spending on projects over the next 23 years. The current fiscal year we're in right now is year 4 of that agreement. And as I mentioned, $4.7 billion, it will be a generational investment in a critical infrastructure system. And we're trying a number of new methods and solutions that we haven't tried in the past. So MSD Project Clear, if you would, it falls into 3 main buckets or 3 main areas of activities. Get the rain out, repair and maintain, and build system improvements. Get the rain out, very much what it says. We want to get the rain out of our system. I talked about too much rainwater going into our wastewater system, causing overflow. So we want to get that rain out of that system, hold it back. We're doing stormwater disconnections in St. Louis County. And by that, I mean we're disconnecting downspouts that have been connected to homes' lateral lines. And if you're unfamiliar with the lateral line, that's what connects a home's plumbing with the public sewer system. Unfortunately, building methods were carried out from the city into the county as our region expanded. Those building methods shouldn't have been used in much of the county, and it connects downspouts from roof gutters to the lateral line, allowing rainwater to get into a wastewater system that was never designed to handle. So over the next several years, we're visiting 180,000 homes, identifying those connections, getting those connections off of our wastewater system, thereby avoiding overflows. We're doing rainscaping in the eastern half of the city of St. Louis, and by rainscaping, green infrastructure called by some, but rainscaping is really reopening the earth, getting rid of blacktop, getting rid of cement, allowing Mother Nature to do more of what she does best, which is manage rainwater where it falls, allow that rainwater to percolate back into the ground, and through that we're building rain gardens and other green features to help manage that rainwater and keep it back from our sewer system. Going into repair and maintain, it's about maintaining our system in the best method, using the best methods and standards possible. I'll give you an example. About 6-7 years ago, we started a comprehensive cleaning program of our smaller diameter sewers. Because of that cleaning program, we are realizing all-time lows in basement backups. Now, that's not to say that a storm can't come along and overwhelm our system. It still does happen, but we're seeing immediate results just by maintaining our system the right way. We also have a fats, oils, and grease program where we encourage folks and educate them about the proper use of drains, sinks, and toilets. And one of the big issues that we have is folks, they pour grease down their kitchen sink. Many folks think because they have a garbage disposal that they can really put anything down the sink, and that's not true. Grease, dressing, oils, other substances, they get into the public sewer system, they solidify, and they can block the system. And in some cases, they can block the plumbing of your home. So we're working to educate the community. Again, briefly going through build system improvements. In addition to those smaller activities, we're going to be building large underground storage tunnels, large above ground storage tanks, larger relief sewers. The tunnels, I'll give you an example. We're going to build 9 tunnels as part of MSD Project Clear. One of them has already been completed. We have 8 more to go. But if you're to connect those tunnels end to end, they would measure almost 30 miles in length. The largest tunnel will be 9 miles long, almost 30 feet in diameter, and run a couple hundred feet underneath the River de Pere from Forest Park down to the Lee May area. So from small to big, MSD Project Clear is deploying a number of techniques to address our community's wastewater issues. So what has MSD Project Clear delivered for our community? Or in other words, for the millions of dollars that customers have sent to MSD over the last 4 years, what has been the benefit provided? Well, first and foremost, we've eliminated 36 of those sewer overflows. That's the most important thing because that is the real intent focus of the agreement that we have with EPA and the Coalition for the Environment. But to eliminate overflows, you need to make other improvements to do other things. We've completed improvements at our Lee May wastewater treatment plant. Of the 180,000 homes that I spoke of that where we have to do those stormwater disconnections, we have visited 90,000 of those. That means 90,000 one-on-one conversations between MSD staff and contractors and homeowners. At those 90,000 homes, we've completed over 4,000 disconnections. And then as part of the agreement that we have with EPA and the Coalition for the Environment, we have to do $100 million in rainscaping or green infrastructure. Before we spend that full $100 million, though, we had to do a pilot program to really understand what works best in our community. As we unwind that blacktop and that cement and restore more green space and build rain gardens and other green features, certain things may or may not work right in our community, so we needed to understand that. At the end of calendar year 2015, we sent a report and proposal to EPA and how we intend to go forward with spending that $100 million. And we anticipate getting approval or comments back in the next couple months here. But the bottom bullet point here, where it talks about dollars, this is perhaps the most important point. How have we spent these dollars? Well, I'm here to tell you that here at MSD, we are delivering this program on time and under budget. When we went to our rate commission in 2011, we projected that the first 4 years of MSD Project Clear would cost $971 million. By the end of this fiscal year 2016, which ends on June 30th of this year, 2016, we estimate that we will only spend $905 million. And why is that? Well, first, we're getting very competitive bids from the industry. Coming out of the 2008 economic crisis, we're seeing competitive bids. Instead of maybe getting 3 bids on a project like we did in the past, we're getting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bids. So a very competitive environment has allowed us to realize cost savings. But really more than anything, we have very competent, very professional staff here at MSD. We're one of the best run utilities in the country, and that is a lot of the reason why this project is coming in under budget thus far. But again, on time and under budget, that is a key point for folks to understand. So again, in terms of what has MSD delivered, what has MSD Project Clear delivered for our community? Well, the next 2 slides represent, if you would, case studies. The first, this slide, is what we call here at MSD a tale of 2 storms. In April 2013 and April 14, we had a storm system that came through our Coldwater Creek watershed, that is North County, includes Lambert Airport, is in that watershed. And these 2 storms came through over the course of 2 days, almost the exact same characteristics in terms of the amount of rainfall, the angle with which the storms came into the watershed, so on and so forth. Very identical. What we saw from our perspective, though, was a dramatic reduction in sewer overflows and basement backups. You'll see at the bottom column there, overcharged mains. An overcharged main is a sewer which has received too much rainwater, and again, talking about how sewer overflows are caused and how basement backups are caused, they're caused by overcharged mains. So what you saw in the April 2013 storm was 150 overcharged sewers. In April 14 storm, 53 overcharged sewers. A huge reduction in overflows, a huge reduction in basement backups. Well, what happened, if 2 similar storms came through, what changed? Well, up in that area, we completed a number of projects on the sewer mains in the area, but we also completed an above-ground storage tank. Some folks may be familiar with a round circular looking office building, which is just off of Cypress Road, south of the airport and I-70. Well, it's not an office building, it's a storage tank. And that tank and those projects, they all came online between the 2 storms, and that's why we saw the fewer overcharged mains, thus the fewer overflows, thus fewer basement backups. Our second case study really deals with what we experienced most recently here in December with the severe rains and the resulting flooding. Compare that to Hurricane Ike, which hit our area back in 2008, or I should say the remnants of Hurricane Ike. Both systems brought a lot of rain over several days. For MSD, a number of service calls, overcharged mains, overflows, basement backups. In December 15 was certainly an overwhelming situation, not just for us, but for our entire community. But look at the column for Hurricane Ike and look at the column for what occurred here this past December. A dramatic reduction in block mains, basement backups, sewer overflows, customer service calls. Again, though we did have a lot of things we need to deal with as a result of the December weather coming through, a significant reduction in terms of what we had to deal with, in terms of the problems that were caused. And again, this is because of MSD Project Clear and the changes and programs we have instituted here at MSD. Now that I've completed the update on MSD Project Clear, I'm going to talk about our rate commission process and ultimately what led to propositions Y and S being placed on the April 5th ballot. The MSD Rate Commission was established as part of a series of changes that were made to MSD's charter in 2000. The Rate Commission, and this was voter approved, the Rate Commission changes that were made called for a 15-member organization to be formed, thus the Rate Commission, and each organization would represent an individual to serve as a commissioner on the MSD Rate Commission. The organizations are meant to represent a broad cross-section of the community that MSD serves. Not only do we have some contractors, contracting organizations, some large industrial consumers, but we have smaller community groups. We have neighborhood associations that have served on the Rate Commission now and in the past. We have consumer advocacy organizations. We have had all types of organizations on the Rate Commission, but again, it is meant to represent the broadest cross-section possible of our community and to give the public a voice in MSD's rate-setting process. And what the Rate Commission does is they review all proposed rate changes. MSD staff, we take a proposal for rate changes to the Commission, and the Commission reviews it, and then give a recommendation to our Board of Trustees. A couple points here. The Rate Commission is their own entity within MSD structure. The Rate Commission has its own resources, meaning it can hire its own lawyers and rate consultants and experts to review anything that staff gives them. So they don't have to rely upon our word. They can come to an independent conclusion and have independent deliberations. And once a recommendation is made to our Board of Trustees, the board can only alter or change that recommendation under very narrow parameters that are set out as part of those charter changes. So in 2015, MSD staff took a proposal to the Rate Commission for rates for 2017 through 2020. So specifically, this is the timeline that we followed. Last year, on February 26, 2015, MSD staff submitted a rate proposal to the Rate Commission for wastewater and stormwater. On March 4th, that proposal was formally presented to the Commission in person. In between March and July, there were numerous public meetings held by MSD staff, the Rate Commission itself, or third-party organizations. These public meetings were meant to solicit the public's input, get their feedback on the rate proposals. At the same time these public meetings were taking place, the Rate Commission itself held a series of meetings where they deliberated, where they reviewed with their experts what MSD staff had presented to them. They questioned and quizzed MSD staff, brought in other parties to find out more and really come to what is right for our MSD community. On July 30th, the Rate Commission submitted their recommendation to the MSD Board of Trustees, and in October, the trustees accepted that Rate Commission recommendation. And as part of the recommendation, we are placing propositions Y and S on the April 5th, 2016 ballot. I would point out that the Rate Commission did make changes to what staff had proposed, and those changes are on the website on which this video is contained. I will now go into propositions Y and S and provide more detail on the specifics behind each. Proposition Y deals with wastewater. Specifically, it's wastewater bond authorization for financing of MSD Project Clear. Over the next 4 years, this is what this agreement calls for. Almost 600 projects for planning and design. We're going to be constructing over 200 wastewater projects, leading to the elimination of 39 of those sewer overflows. And again, I talked about those tunnels earlier. This is the period where we really start a lot of the tunnel work. We will be starting work, design, engineering, starting actual construction of 24 miles of that almost 30 miles of tunnel. So this is going to be a very busy, very busy 4 years as part of MSD Project Clear. Where are those projects going to take place? Well, as I mentioned earlier, this isn't a city versus county. This isn't an old versus new issue. These issues, what we need to do through MSD Project Clear impacts our entire service area. These dots represent where the project's going to take place over the next 4 years. Again, you can see a regional-wide, a service area-wide program of construction activity. Moving on to the next slide, MSD Project Clear calls for $1.5 billion in projects over the next 4 years. This slide here, slide 17, details the amount of spending we project by each fiscal year and how do we pay for it. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts and really what voters are being asked to look at on April 5th. This slide really gets down to the meat and potatoes of what Tuesday, April 5th is about and the voters' decision on Proposition Y. As MSD has done in the past, and specifically in 2004, 2008, and 2012, MSD is once again bringing forward for voter approval and asking voters, do you want to use bonds to finance the next 4 years of capital work at MSD? This work, and let me be very clear, this is strictly a financing question. If this gets voted down, the work still has to happen. And I would ask voters, if you love MSD or hate MSD, don't cast your vote based on that. This is really a financing question and how you want this program to impact your pocketbook. So as we have done in the past, we're bringing forward a proposition to voters, asking them, do you want to use bonds and approve bonds to keep rate increases lower in the near term, or do you want to not use bonds and allow rates to go up higher in the near term? And there are pros and cons to each of that. So let me go through the left column here. If voters say yes to Proposition Y, MSD will issue $900 million in bonds to finance $1.5 billion in work, the work we just reviewed in the previous 3 slides. That is work that's going to be done over 4 years. What will that do to the average single-family household monthly bill? Today, that bill sits at about $40 per month. By 2020, that will go up to a little over $60 per month. And those percentage changes you see right next to those numbers in the left-hand column generally apply to all customers. But if voters, and it's represented on the right column, if voters say no to Proposition Y and say, hey, let's pay for this program strictly using cash, rates will go from today's $40.72 up to $95 per month in 2020. Now, folks will say that's a dramatic increase. For us, again, it's not a question of the work needs to happen. It has to happen, so we have to pay for the work. The left-hand column allows for the work to be financed through bonds. The right-hand column allows for it to be paid for through cash. But there are, again, pros and cons. If we go the yes route, yes, it keeps the rates lower in the long term, but we accrue interest expenses. And our interest expenses, if the bonds are approved for the current 4 years, and keep in mind, we have had 3 other bond authorizations, our interest expenses for the next 4 years will be well over $400 million. That covers interest and debt service. But if voters vote no and say, let's finance this through cash, we'll avoid that interest cost, but rates will go up dramatically in the near term. So both viewpoints are very valid, and that's why folks need to look at this and vote on what is right for them, what is right for their pocketbook. Well, now that I've explained Proposition Y, and again, Proposition Y deals just with the wastewater side of our house. MSD's function as a wastewater utility. I'm now going to move on to Proposition S, which impacts the stormwater utility side of our business. In terms of stormwater, MSD really provides just 3 basic services. And I know there's many views that folks have of MSD in terms of how we provide stormwater services and what we should be doing. But at the end of the day, these are the 3 functions we should be doing. First is overall stormwater management in our service area. That is to say, we should respond to stormwater complaints, we should document them, we should evaluate them, we do water quality work. The second function that we serve is compliance with our area's Phase 2 stormwater permit. That Phase 2 stormwater permit is a series of stormwater regulations that are passed down to us by the state. A lot of it includes public education, also includes regular inspection of our creeks and streams. And there are activities which we embark on in coordination with the 59 county municipalities that fall under that permit. There are activities that we must make sure that happen in terms of good practices for stormwater, best practices for stormwater. And then the third and perhaps the most important function that we do as part of stormwater is the ownership and maintenance of the actual stormwater sewers. That is to say, the bricks, the mortars, the metal of stormwater sewers, we must maintain and operate. On the previous slide, I described the services, stormwater services that MSD should provide. And let me emphasize should provide, and become apparent why I say that here in a moment. This map here on this slide is very intentionally green, yellow, red. Those colors reflect the amount of money that customers pay to MSD through their taxes and a stormwater fee for stormwater services, and it reflects the level of stormwater services they get in return. I have no other way but to summarize this, not to be glib, than other to say this is a hot mess. And it is a mess that MSD has tried for many years to address. When we first took over stormwater management in the red area of the county in 1989, and keep in mind that there are 2 distinct phases to MSD, the yellow and green area reflect our original service boundaries, and then in 1977, voters in the red area voted to come into the district. It wasn't until 1989 that we took over stormwater management for that red area of the district. But our biggest issue has been stormwater funding. And we have tried on several occasions over the last couple of decades to address stormwater funding. But we've been stopped for various reasons. Most recently, we put in place a stormwater impervious fee in 2008. We were taken to court over the implementation of that fee. We lost. Eventually, we lost before the Missouri State Supreme Court. But the problem of stormwater still exists. So we have to address it. And versus the impervious fee, which if you want to use a football analogy, would have been a long bomb passing game, we're going to go back to a little bit of a ground game. Let's get the foundation of stormwater funding fixed. Let's get stormwater service for everybody in our service area. So let me run through this slide from red, yellow, green, and then from green, yellow, red. First, I'll describe the funding, how stormwater services are funded, and what services are provided in return. In that red area, outside of 270 mainly, the average MSD customer pays a $2.88 per year stormwater fee. That stormwater fee is paid to MSD through a flat stormwater fee on each month's MSD bill of 24 cents. So again, on each month's MSD bill, there's a 24-cent per month stormwater charge. In the aggregate on an annual basis, that comes to $2.88. That goes to stormwater. In the red area, folks also pay to us a small administrative tax, which totals, with the stormwater fee, $13.40 per year. The yellow area, if you live in the yellow area, on average, and keep in mind that the red area covers our entire service area and runs underneath the yellow and green areas on this map. The yellow area sits on top of the red area and runs underneath the green area, and the green area sits on top of the yellow area and the red area. So in the yellow area, you pay that stormwater fee, the administrative tax that's levied in the red area, and you pay another stormwater tax of 0.0682 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. The total is $15.38 per year. In the green area, you pay the red charges, you pay the yellow area charges, and then you pay an additional up to 10 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. And I say up to because in that green area, there are approximately 20 taxing subdistricts, and not all of them are right at that 10-cent rate, but some of them are. But for our conversation, up to 10 cents per $100 of assessed valuation, resulting in almost $65 a year by the average property owner, residential property owner, being paid to MSD for stormwater services. Well, what does that get you in return? And again, working from the bottom up in the green area, it gets you regulatory compliance. At phase 2 stormwater work that we have to do, the stormwater management work that we have to do, gets you complete operations and maintenance of the stormwater sewer system, and some projects, a minimal amount of capital projects that go beyond the existing stormwater system, like building perhaps new stormwater sewers or addressing an erosion issue, but some capital projects. In the yellow area, where you're paying significantly less than you are in the green area, you get the regulatory compliance, you get partial operations and maintenance. Not as good as what's in the green area, but it's okay. We can clean some inlets. If you got a problem, we can respond to it. If you need a collapsed stormwater pipe replaced, we can get to that in time. Okay service. In the red area gets the least amount of service. The money that is raised in the red area can only pay for the regulatory compliance work. And I say can only pay because it's only enough to pay for that work. Before we do anything else, we have to meet our state and federal regulations, and we only raise enough money in the red area to address those regulations. There's not enough money left over for fixing the stormwater pipes, to come and clean out inlets, to even do projects. And you may say, well, why don't we move these dollars around? Well, you can't take monies raised through the green area tax system and spend it in the red area or the yellow area and vice versa. So what this has led to and what we've been dealing with here at MSD since we took over stormwater management in that red area of the county in 1989 is a very inequitable stormwater system or service system in terms of the services delivered. Well, we want to fix that. Before I go into what we're proposing through Proposition S, and the proposal is what we believe is the appropriate solution for our inequality in stormwater services, let me go in a little bit more detail with what we're dealing with in that red area. We have over 1,100 miles of creeks. We have to walk these creeks and inspect them. That is what it's called for through the stormwater regulations. There are 2,600 best management practices, stormwater facilities built to manage stormwater and to comply with regulations from a private development side. We have to inspect these. This work is currently funded, but this is all we can do. When you go to, on the next slide, what we can't do, there are over 1,300 miles of stormwater sewers in that red area that we cannot maintain due to lack of funding. That is to say, since 1989, stormwater sewers have been built to MSD standard, deeded over to MSD, and we have no money to maintain them. So if you as a customer have a collapsing stormwater pipe in your backyard, and many folks are familiar with the situation, we will come out and visit, we will assess the situation, but we can't do anything about it. All we can do is give you advice. And it is not the position that we want to be in at MSD. We want to be out there serving the community, but we have to have the funds to do the work, and we have to be able to do it in a legal way. Again, as I mentioned, we can't take taxes from one area and spend them in another area. So what we are proposing, on this next slide, what we're proposing is to roll back and eliminate some of those taxes, leave in place one tax district, eliminate that stormwater fee. And what you would have, and what this map does represent, is you see that blue area. Well, underneath that blue area remains the red area tax, and that is a district-wide, service area-wide tax that we're going to leave in place. And that money is going to go specifically and only towards regulatory compliance work for our entire service area. The blue on this map is meant to represent a new up to 10 cent per $100 assessed valuation tax that we will put in place for everybody. And you combine those two taxes, it will be almost 12 cents per $100 of assessed valuation. When we do this, what folks will get is complete stormwater service. Finally, everyone will have the ability to receive complete stormwater service. We will do the regulatory compliance for everyone. We will have complete operations and maintenance of the stormwater system for everyone. And we will have very limited funding for some capital projects. And as I mentioned, we're going to eliminate and roll back some taxes. We'll eliminate the yellow area taxes. We'll roll back to zero the green area taxes, and we'll eliminate the stormwater fee that comes on each MSD bill. So what does this mean for the ratepayer's pocketbook? Well, again, going back to that color-coded map, keep in mind where you live on that map. If you live in the red area, what you pay to MSD annually for stormwater service will go up about $47 per year to over $60 per year. Now, that's a big increase when you're looking at percentages, but you're finally going to get stormwater service. In this area, the red area needs stormwater service. In the yellow area, you're going to pay about 72 cents more per year total to MSD, but in exchange for that, you're going to get complete stormwater service, complete regulatory service, and improvement in those services. And in the green area, you're actually going to get a tax cut. If you live in the green area, your bill is going to go from about $65 per month down to $41.92 per month, over a $20, not month, annually, over a $20 annual cut in terms of what you pay to MSD. And you're still going to get that complete maintenance and operations service. You're still going to get the regulatory compliance. And if Proposition S is passed, we are going to have fund balances left in those various taxing accounts. And we propose to, over the next 4 years, take those fund balances and spend them on $67 million of projects, stormwater projects. And those projects are represented on this map by the various dots. And you can see, I was talking about fund balances, the dollars come from the specific taxing districts. So the red dots represent red tax district dollars, the green dots, yellow dots, same thing. These projects will not be possible if Proposition S is not passed. Now, this is a finite program. It's only going to be in place for the $67 million over the 4 years. But our intent, MSD's intent, is to if Proposition S is passed, we'll start to go out to the community, have a conversation with the community at large, saying, do we want to do more stormwater projects? If community says yes, how do you want to pay for those? And then we'll take that information and go back to our rate commission. And anything more that we do would go to our rate commission, our board of trustees, and then have to go before voters again for approval. But before any of that can happen, again, Proposition S is about equalizing the taxes that everyone pays, treating everybody equally under the same tax structure, and treating everybody the same in terms of the services they receive. And that's what Proposition S is about on the April 5th ballot. So now that I've shared information on Propositions Y and S, I've explained the details and how those impact our separate utility functions, our function as a wastewater utility and a stormwater utility. I do ask folks to vote on April 5th. Please keep in mind, we are not advocating through this presentation or any information that we distribute. We're simply informing and educating the community about what these two propositions are about. And I would ask you, when you do go to the ballot booth on April 5th, these propositions, I would ask, not be a judgment on MSD. but to really look at how these two propositions impact you and your community and to vote accordingly. And that decision is different for everybody, but we want our community to be informed and educated about these propositions before they go to the ballot booth. So again, we're complete. We do encourage everyone to vote on April 5th. We do have more information available on this website where the video is contained. If you want more information on MSD Project Clear, there you have the Project Clear website and our social media channels. And there is also my contact information. If any member of the public has questions about anything in this presentation, specifically about Proposition Y and Proposition S, you are encouraged to contact me via email or telephone. And if you'd like me to come out or a member of our staff to speak to a community meeting, a subdivision meeting, or the like, would be more than happy to set that up as well. Thank you for your time, and we encourage you to vote on April 5th.